Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm a teacher here with Cambly. Today, we're going to address a few different topics. We're going to learn how cultural differences can affect our lessons, when and how often we should correct our students with their mistakes, and lastly, how we deal with distractions. So to start, cultural differences. Of course, as a Cambly teacher, you'll be encountering many different students from all around the world. And oftentimes that means we will be encountering many different cultures, and sometimes those cultural differences can affect our lessons. For example, some cultures have a relationship where the teacher and student is extremely formal. So students aren't used to asking questions and they consider that maybe rude. So as a teacher, what we want to do is try to understand that culture and modify our lesson plans appropriately. If the students are a little bit shy, maybe lack a little enthusiasm, I would like to ask questions that are related to topics that they like, or questions that get them to start speaking. Open-ended questions are always great. So instead of asking, do you like ice cream? Maybe asking, what is your favorite dessert and why? Or what is your favorite activity? Or also asking questions about their home country can help both parties understand each other a little bit more and understand these cultural differences and use them in our lesson plans. Next question that I get a lot is, how often do we correct students when they make an error? It's a very great question. For me, when I'm having a freestyle conversation with students, I like to establish confidence and get them to speak. That's the intent of my freestyle activity, is I want to hear them speak and hear them speak confidently. So when it's in this scenario, I don't often correct, but I correct with major errors. So this is a great way to help them speak a little more freely, but not let them just continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. So oftentimes we'll have a conversation for a few minutes, and at the end, I would have taken a few notes and bring up some of the items that I heard them making multiple mistakes of. Or if I hear a major mistake during our conversation, I might put the conversation on hold, address that error, and then continue on. But it's very important in my freestyle activities to get a smooth and comfortable conversation going back and forth. If we're reading, then I often use this as a time to make more corrections more often. So when we're reading, I can have the opportunity to stop them, make the correction, and then we can continue. And if we do this after a while, at the end, we can then go back, read the paragraph, and hopefully read it with much less errors and a little bit more fluidity. And again, just the idea is to help them build confidence in their speech. If we correct too often, it can be a little difficult for students to start connecting those dots and speaking a little more efficiently. Lastly, distractions. There are a variety of different distractions we encounter as Cambly teachers. An example could be maybe a parent who is interacting with their student during the lesson. So sometimes this can be helpful, and sometimes this can be not so helpful. So if I find a parent is interacting and asking a lot of questions or distracting the student, I'll ask them to join us. This is a nice subtle way of bringing them into the lesson without distracting or ruining the lesson. So what we'll do is maybe use the parent as a prop. We could use them as a person in a conversation, or ask them to demonstrate an emotion like anger or sadness. And in this way, we get engagement from both parties and we remove the distraction and we actually engage it and use it for our benefit. Noise, unwanted noise, music, things like that in the background can also be distractions to our lessons. So there's one of two ways I like to address this. One way is I use the distraction as part of the lesson. This would be a great time to learn the words noisy, loud, distracting. So again, using the distraction in a positive way is something that I've found to be very helpful. if the distraction is very negative and you just can't get by it and you can't hear or they can't hear you, then that's when I would suggest solutions. So instead of just addressing the problem, I like to address the solution to the problem. For example, I would say, hey, perhaps the next lesson we could use headphones, or maybe you could find a quieter place for our next lesson. Just subtly and politely suggesting ways that they can improve the environment to be less distracting and more conducive to communication. So overall, there are many cultural differences, many distractions, and oftentimes knowing when to correct a student is a very important piece into being a good Cambly teacher. I love to use these distractions, and I love to keep the conversation flowing smoothly with clients and keeping everything nice and light. And I find that creates a very conducive environment to learning and communication. So I hope that these tips will help you in your journey to becoming a Cambly teacher.